Level 5, Lesson 1. Mentorship is everyone, everywhere. Human beings were not meant to exist in isolation. We are social animals. We have our own individual psychology and energy, but we also have a collective consciousness as sentient, dimensional beings who have been given the capabilities of the mind, body, and language. If you think about how societies have been formed and structured since the beginning of time, there have always been multiple generations living at the same time and some sort of hierarchical structure defining those roles and relationships. This naturally leads to power differentials and, as a consequence, mentorship. While many authors have spoken on the subject of mentorship from the perspective of personal motivation, I like to approach it from my scholarly, historical background and cite authors like Jared Diamond, who has written very important treatises on the subject of how societies develop and speaks somewhat indirectly on mentorship in terms of human anthropology. We have all been mentored in one way, shape, or form in our lives. If you sit and think about what the word mentor means to you in your vocabulary, in your lexicon, you might think of a formal mentor who guides and helps you grow, kind of like a coach. And this is what I would call a formal mentor, someone who has formally taken on or has agreed to the role of mentor and you of mentee. This might come in the form of paid coaching, an agreement with a person of higher rank who is looking out for you, or anyone who meets with you on a regular basis, tracks your progress, and holds you accountable for your growth. A mentor is like a coach with the distinction that you are aspiring to be just like your mentor. Actually, for me, mentorship comes in 4 categories: formal, informal, living, and historical. These are also diametrically opposing pairs as formal, informal, living, and historical. I described formal mentorship above. Let's talk about informal mentorship because this probably is the best category for you to quantum leap your manifestation. I have to say, I love mentorship. I have achieved my biggest goals in life from mentors of all kinds, from informally looking up to people to actually having paid mentors for me to focus and level up, to historical characters that I admire. While formal mentors can only fall in the living category, informal mentors can be both living and historical. They can be people who you know as well as people you've never met personally and may never get the chance to meet. I've had some amazing informal mentors in my life, from my 6th grade teacher to musicians like Stevie Ray Vaughan when he was still living, and Al Di Meola, Richie Blackmore, to my linguistics phonology professor Ken Ray, whose style I emulate even now in my role as a professor, to Nick Saban, to Bob Proctor, Jake Ducey, Jessica Connor, and a few other manifestation/law of attraction luminaries, to my buddy Kevin, who was my weightlifting partner in college. I've been very lucky to have been mentored by several brilliant senior faculty at my university, and the list goes on. Not to mention all of the historical mentors I've had as a scholar, having read well over 3,000 books. And that's a lot of mentors. So take a few minutes and reflect on who are or were your biggest mentors in your life, informally. Who did you look up to? Who did you want to emulate? I shared with you a few of my mentors, so I want you to write out a list of 10 mentors that you had and categorize them. I'll bet that you may have had only a few formal mentors in your life, but many more informal mentors. Think about where you are in life today in relationship to the people that have helped you in the inspiration department. Heck, even my golden retriever has been a mentor to me. He had the most gentle and happy disposition. I look up to his energy. And that is the power of collective consciousness. Having said that, you can have, or should I say, choose to have, or allow yourself to have bad mentors as well. And this is the caveat and the other side of the coin, the double edge of the sword. Anyone in this world can influence you to the degree you allow them to. You can get sucked in to look up to a musician who spouts negative lyrics and subconsciously emulate that for yourself. You may take on a victim mentality and talk with your friends about how great that artist is. You may even put these negative people on a pedestal because they make you feel good in the moment. You must guard your thoughts and emotions, your state of being, very carefully. Your self-image, energy, plus your emotions is what manifests. Therefore, it stands to reason that positive mentorship will reinforce positive energy. The true beauty about mentorship is that it is on tap 24 hours a day. Whenever you need some inspiration, you know where to go to drink from the well of positive energy. And that's how I want you to see mentorship. You will need to find yourself mentors in order to truly manifest in the way you would like to. It's actually quite easy. Go back to the subconscious questioning. Who would I need to be in order to have and do what I want? And this comes from level 1, lesson 4. So ask your subconscious for a mentor and one will show up. Prime yourself, prime your subconscious with the question. Ask for a subconscious mentor and one will show up. Once you have one mentor, simply go from there, because one mentor will inevitably lead to another mentor in this abundant universe in which you are constantly manifesting. And also know, and this is very important, that informal mentorship is just that. It's informal, in that it is more akin to liking and copying someone's style versus cloning yourself in their image. For one of my mentors, Jake Ducey, for example, I love his affirmations on money and how he uses self-hypnosis for success. However, there are other things about his style that I don't particularly care for, but it's all good because he's Jake and I'm Franklin. I have my style, he has his, and I totally respect him for what he has done and just borrow the bits that resonate with me. And same goes for every other mentor I've ever had. Formal, informal, living, or historical. Over the course of my college career, I've mentored students and other junior faculty, and I don't expect them to become carbon copies of me. Well, that would be disingenuous. They take what they need and emulate that. And so it is for you, just to be clear. Carbon copying yourself is unhealthy, so just leave it at that. For your manifestation journey, find an informal mentor that has already achieved what you would like to achieve and channel that energy. Find them on YouTube or some other platform and listen to what they have to say. And this is exactly what I do. The other aspect of mentorship to understand is that mentors will come and go. They are transient. Never feel committed to make a mentorship permanent. Ride the wave of inspiration as long as you need to, as long as it benefits you. You are not beholden to them. I've had several very influential formal mentors with whom I've worked and paid for coaching, yet to demonstrate the idea of transience, although I will count them among the great influences in my life, I don't formally interact with them anymore on a formal level. I've graduated. I still don't show up to the campus and hang out in my old classroom, so to speak. My informal mentors come and go about every 6 to 12 months as a rule of thumb for me. And I kind of have a few on YouTube at any given time. From Jake Ducey to Your Universe to Bashar in the areas of manifestation and other areas like physics with Elliot, Sabine Hassenfelder in the areas of quantum physics, to Jules Guitar for better shredding techniques. I'll have mentors that swirl around in my consciousness. Have you ever been to a concert or a sporting event that you weren't too keen on going to? Yet once you were in the crowd, your attitude and outlook changed? Group psychology is a real thing. Greats like Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza are masters at understanding this, and it applies in many ways to mentorship. As sentient, feeling, dimensional beings, we become like what we observe and participate in. We become the product of our environment. Actually, it is scientifically proven that the power of collective consciousness is its own multiplier effect. Think about the phrase, "You are only as successful as your 5 closest friends or associates." This is so eminently true. It's like hanging around with the bad kids growing up and you somehow, miraculously, always seem to get into trouble. Who would have thunk it? Well, I remember a time just after high school where I literally chose to disassociate with all of my close friends, and boy, did my life change for the better very quickly. For me, it was a very tough decision back then, but I had a goal and I shifted my identity and embodied that goal and found many new friends who made me feel like I was joyously and safely riding down on a raft on a river towards my goals instead of paddling upstream in whitewater conditions. Energy in, energy out. The power of mentorship actually lies in the imagination. As you observe your mentor's speech, actions, affirmations, sounds, energy, you subconsciously are using your imagination to pattern that reality, unbeknownst to you or not. When you get into somebody, you are actually a bit entranced by them, and this also falls under the category of a mild hypnosis. It's not quite a cult of personality, maybe a mild infatuation or a healthy respect. Just think about 2 sports fans arguing about who is the best NFL quarterback of all time. Psychologically, they have attached so many emotions to these sports personalities that they've incorporated them into their own self-image, which is why when someone questions the validity of their sports icon, they tend to take it personal. Now, as a disclaimer, there's nothing wrong with passionate sports fans. I myself am a huge college football nut. However, when it comes to your mentors, there is no need to go off the deep end and get into the level of utter abject hero worship. Speaking of sports, for me, it is the king of metaphors when it comes to mentorship. I've played and watched sports my whole life and still love college football and some English Premier League football. I actively use sports metaphors for my own self-talk all the time. So for you, find your metaphor. Find what works for you. Find things that you can metaphorize and use parallels to help formulate your manifestations and goals in your life. Whether it be football or skateboarding or knitting, whatever it is, pattern yourself and build off of whatever the success techniques are in your area. For example, in football, you often hear that a quarterback should have no memory. That is to say that if they made a bad play, the mentality is to quickly forget it and focus on the next play. Not so easy, I would think, in a pressure situation, yet that's the way they are trained at that level. I have taken this to heart when I've bungled life at my worst. If I make a mistake that I feel really crappy about, I brush myself off, learn from what I did, and not hold it against myself as I'm moving forward, and get ready for the next play, which would be a better play in which I not only recover the lost yards, but this time I throw for a touchdown. You see, it's all mindset. If you take away only one thing, it should be this. Manifestation is about how you show up for things. It's energy in, energy out. Go back to level 1, lesson 2 to revisit this idea. The other crucial factor for success with mentors, formal or informal, is the power of pushing yourself past your comfort zones. We inevitably make our biggest life gains when we push ourselves past our conceived limitations. I remember lifting weights in college. My friend Kevin and I were into strength training, which is to say, we didn't necessarily care how big we were as far as our physique was concerned. We just wanted to be as strong as possible. And to that end, Kevin used to always force me to do one more rep when I was absolutely burned out, absolutely gassed out, muscles full of lactic acid. He would yell over the bench bar at me and scream, "Give me one more!" And I'd muster all the strength I had and somehow found even more to give past that last repetition on the bench press, sometimes even doing 2 more. And we quickly went from benching 1 plate to benching 4 plates. And that's going from 135 pounds to benching 405 pounds. The power of encouragement, affirmations, really in this context cannot be overstated. Keeping your motivation high is essential. Keeping a positive attitude and having positive feedback loops is beyond crucial in manifesting the life of your dreams. But do you know what the secret was for me? Even when I was benching 135, I had the self-image of a person who benched 405. And not to brag, but benching 4 plates in the weightlifting world is a pretty small club. And my secret was that I saw myself as that person from the start. When I would load on 1 plate, I would imagine 3 more plates on there. When I went up to 2 plates, I would imagine 3 more plates or another 2 more plates on there as I was pushing the lower weight. Energy in, energy out. Embodiment in my imagination. I've manifested a lot of cool things in my life. And I've also have very, very big dreams. And those big dreams come from my passion in life. And that passion stems from love. Love is the greatest thing in the world and is the place from which you should always use your imagination to manifest. Now, this aspect of life is severely misunderstood, I believe. Love is often miscast. Think about it this way, utilizing the power of the sports metaphor. An NFL athlete loves winning, or loves the game, or loves imagining himself as a Super Bowl champion. Given that fact, is he going to love his opponent and let them walk all over him during a game because that's what he loves? Because that's what love is? No, he's going to be gritty and mean and do exactly what his training tells him to do. Now listen carefully. All of those actions do not mean that he does not love and respect his opponents. They're 2 different things. Now think about that modality when you get yourself in life's game mode. Get into that modality, embody that modality. And here's how you do it. Before we wrap up the course, I want to share with you one final, very powerful technique. Not everyone might be ready for this, but it is very powerful, if done right. This combines all 5 meta manifestation fields. It has the power of the mind and imagination, the power of the body in experiencing yourself into a new environment, the power of language in affirmations and self-hypnosis, and the power of dimensionality in being in a state of the wish fulfilled in the present moment. It also involves the power of mentorship, in that this technique has been used by some of the most successful people in their fields, like titans of industry, musicians, and athletes such as Mike Tyson. I'll use Mike Tyson as the example. When he was a struggling youth, his mentor Customato took Mike around to all these fancy neighborhoods and told him, "One day you'll be living here in a house just like this. In fact, one day you'll be able to buy any of these houses that you want. Well, Mike Tyson believed him and drove around these fancy neighborhoods believing that he already could buy these houses. He saw himself as living there. Well, his coach also hypnotized Mike Tyson and told him that he had the quickest knockout punch in history. Well, as anyone knows, all of that came true. So you can use this to tell yourself things. Auto-suggestion. You can say, I'm not driving this blank car, I'm driving a blank. I don't live in this place, I live in blank. And you can fill in the blanks as this technique. The fill in the blank part should be what is on your vision board, what you imagine as your goal. This technique, in my opinion, is an advanced technique in the sense that you should have absolute or near mastery over your emotional state before doing this and be able to distinguish between healthy and unhealthy delusions. Think of it as a waking fantasy. The last element of this technique and this course is the word action. Manifestation is a function of the imagination and the energy that creates it as a function of emotional states. However, I do not care what any other manifestation or law of attraction person may tell you, but action is necessary. You can sit on the couch and meditate, but you cannot simply sit on the couch all day and expect to achieve your goals. Work will be required. But that is a good thing because work is fun. Because work involves experiences and energy and the satisfaction of accomplishing things. Work, as I'm using it here, is not only grinding or hustling, it can also be doing in the sense of simply and effortlessly following your gut instincts and intuition. Listen to your gut all the time. When you ask your subconscious questions, listen to how it responds. You will receive emotions, vignettes, thoughts of things you should do. Learn to trust your gut and do them. This is a skill at which you can improve the more you do it, and celebrate the wins. When I was buying my second home, I thought I didn't have to find a realtor because one of my very closest friends was a real estate broker who basically had risen to the top of his company at one of the largest real estate firms where I live. However, at the time, my gut was telling me, he's not the one. You'll find the right person. He doesn't know your market. And this was very hard for me to process because this guy, my friend, knows everything about real estate. Not just an agent, he's actually a broker. It was disconcerting at first, but the thoughts, the feelings, and vignettes kept getting stronger and stronger and more persistent the more I thought on it. Well, after a while, I met a guy through a friend who, unbeknownst to me, had sold 2 homes to 2 of my friends and was in the process of selling a home to one of my other friends. And when they found out I was looking for a second home for a new house, they leapt on the moment to extol this person's virtues to me as the realtor who's going to be the one to help you get your new home, who knows the market and neighborhood in which I was searching. Looking back, he became my realtor. And as I reflect on the process, I would not have chosen another person, but my gut led me there. Action. There is a line from a movie, A Bronx Tale, which I will never forget. It says, "There's nothing worse in life than wasted potential." It is so profound and should spark your dreams and desires and your dedication to yourself and your goals. Imagine your grandest reality. Harness the innate power within you to produce the outcome around you that makes you happy, and stay inspired.